All right, cyber traders, good morning and welcome on back here for this Wednesday, July 13th, shortly after 9 a.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back here for our morning meeting. Great to see Michael, Norman, Kurt, Mario, Henry, Ron, Grant, and Phil joining us live inside the trading room. Great to see all of us back on social media today, Facebook Live and YouTube. One more morning of me, folks, before Fausto officially jumps back on. He'll be back come tomorrow morning. But with that in mind, though, folks, there is a lot to talk about this morning specifically, right? I was kind of warning us over the last couple of days of the CPI numbers going to be released at least, heading into this morning at 8:30. So with that, CPI numbers came out. I believe it was 9.1% year over year versus 8.8% expected. So obviously worse than expected for July, and compared to June, it's worse. So ended up having a huge reaction after 8:30, big drop off in the market. I know a few of us that were trading UVXY, SQQQ, whether it be the equity or doing option calls like Brian, ended up paying off quite nicely heading into that pop. So with that, we should have a pretty interesting morning to say the least. And I wouldn't expect to have as much of a full recovery as much as I would look to see a dead cat bounce and then, another pullback down later on, after the, first shake. So that's kind of my thought, at least once the market opens, but we'll see if that even plays out, right? You don't want to hold yourself to your own, expectations or assumptions, because remember, we don't control the market. I don't really predict the SPY perfectly, right? So we have to just try and go with the flow and look to try and follow the big money, right, like we always talk about. So with that, we got the stock U here. It's already down 14-15% right now. And hey, heading into the morning, I was watching this. It wasn't on the main pre-market list so much, but going into this morning, the market open, I figured this would be on the main list, right? Down big, although, it's like $33. That's still within our price range to a good level. You just want to make sure this has easy to read levels. That's it. And I mean that more in the sense of level 3 and level 4, right? Looking at bookmap for the dark orange and red lines and all of that. So what's the news on you? I didn't check the news out on this stock U up until right before this meeting started. All right. So, pretty interesting news out on you, right? Unity PR confirms a merger agreement with Iron Source. Iron Source. All right, well, where does that ring a bell? Well, Iron Source, IS, is actually up 51% this morning, and that's on our pre-market watch list. So, it was interesting. You just assume when a stock is like up or down, like, a 10, 12, 15%-ish, odds are it's going to be earnings. But, hey, that's pretty interesting news. They ended up having a merger agreement with this stock, IS, and IS is, up big. So goes to show my lack of interest in news personally, comparative to, my interest in lining up big levels for the market open, prepping myself by finding the big iceberg orders out there, like I said, on level 3 and level 4. So as we turn over to this IS stock, we were calling this out early on off the pop. I'm expecting a pullback down. I mean, if not down to 3 to 305 at first, then I would really watch out for big support off 280 for this trade, the IS stock here. And with that, let me bring up level 4 book map, if I may. Give me a quick moment here. For all of us inside the live trading room, am I good to go? Uh-oh. All right, give me a quick sec, folks. For all of us inside the room, are we good? Or do I need to just log out, log back in? Uh-oh. All right, give me a quick sec. I'm just going to do that really briefly. There we go. All right, we started with audio issues. We're ending with audio issues, it seems. How about that? All right, so with that in mind, we should be good to go from here on out. But nonetheless, IS, we're going to put on our watch list to begin. The U stock, with that in mind, we're going to put on our watch list to begin. I would look for big support off of 280 on this trade, the IS. And right before my audio crapped out on me, I was actually about to pull up level 4 for this stock. So if I may do so here really briefly, let me just put this up. This is for the APEN trade. Let me jump to IS. we ended up seeing a lot of volume getting filled early on in the morning after the 8 o'clock move. But namely, we ended up seeing a ton of big prints in these two different 250,000 share prints that got filled right off of I believe it was 343 and 351, right within this range here. So with that, once it broke under it, it ended up leading to a nice shakedown. I would simply expect for that to be resistance when the market opens up. Right now, you do have a big support level that just came in recently here off of 330. But should that break or if that gets pulled, watch out. That should lead to another drop down towards that like potential 280 level even. All right, so we got a nice list to begin just with those two, right? I mean, both tradable. One's relatively cheap. One's just still very actively moving right now. 3.8 million shares, the U stock. Let's go right from top to bottom here. Otherwise, I'll try and expedite this meeting with the audio issue at first. So the XRTX trade very flat right now, which I'm not a fan of, to be transparent with you. I would expect this to just pull back a little bit after the market opens up. Hopefully, this does find some support or slingshot from there. But hey, for what it's worth, in pre-market going into the 8 o'clock move, we were looking for a nice run up afterwards. Haven't gotten it yet, so you don't want to just be stuck waiting and waiting for that to never happen, right? So this could definitely be a good stock to follow, but there are others out there too that you should have your focus on, right? Like if you just keep yourself to XRTX and the IS stock, I think that alone will keep you occupied, right? And the APEN, same with this. So, I'm going to put this on our watch list as well. Pretty interesting though. The IS stock and the APEN here, if you're on TradeStation at least, is shortable. It's easy to borrow. So, that's just something to keep in mind. Should we fail to see, or should we, see these fail to break higher? So with that, they could provide a pretty good short opportunity as a dump off. Just be careful with that though, right? Like this just held over 5, ended up squeezing back up, and I don't think this is up enough for us to consider that short opportunity either. We see these stocks make these big like 50, 100+% moves. So I'm kind of also thinking around like right around there, right around 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern, should be happening to see a lack of buying and more profit taking, selling coming in, then that's where you could look to consider that trade. But for right now, the APN looking pretty nice on the way up. The pet stock, not so much. This one's hard to borrow on my platform, at least. But either way, I had this on our pre-market list. I thought there was a chance it could make a small bounce, but it did not really. I mean, it started to, but it teased the breakout over 240. So with that, it ended up pulling back down here. For as much as it popped up in the after hours, you got a nice dump off here going into the open. It might even fill the gap before the market opens up, or as the market opens up. So this one's not even that appealing at this point, right? Because you want to follow the direction of the stock leading into the open. You would just hope to see it try and make a retest of the highs of that after hours range, but again, you don't want to be stuck holding yourself to just this one stock or one trade when there's others out there that just look a lot better right now leading into the open. So I'll put this on our list, I guess, but just at the bottom, like the XRTX trades at the bottom here, I'm putting on, and the PETZ trade too. And boxed, same thing. This what was pretty interesting, at least after 8 o'clock, dumped off, but made a nice bounce from there. We were hopeful to see this try and make a new move up to the highs and try and test 2. Obviously, hasn't happened yet. We're familiar with this stock, right? Boxed is one that we ended up trading back from the mid to end of June. You could just see the big volume spikes from the daily chart. Ended up having a nice run back then from like 1 upwards to like 250, I think at the time, but ended up beginning to pull back, and we took our eyes off it. But for this morning, I don't mind at least putting this on our list as well, just more for the sake of saying we're familiar with this stock. It's a really tradable stock. It has a liquid order book and certainly will fill in even further after the open. Hopefully, it's not too slow of a stock or trade. Stitch Fix. A little spotty here, trading 177,000 shares, but that's not like the only thing that you look at there. It's just very blotchy chart, spotty chart, points of inactivity. Obviously, I'm not going to find too much on the way up here this morning with the CPI data coming out this morning, right? I talked about that right away to begin this meeting. If you're joining us late right now, but obviously markets took a huge drop, and with that, SQQQ, UVXY both spiked. So I'll be more keen to slip the UVXY one on our watch list, just a little bit cheaper of a trade. You got the semiconductor ETF SOXS, but that's also pretty expensive. SPXU, another one. So, hey, if you're familiar with those ETFs and if you trade them consistently with success already, you know who you are, right? If you're listening to this meeting, you know who you are. So, that's where you should look to, have more interest in it. If you're not one of those folks, then I would look to try and follow just stocks. It's a lot easier to read and anticipate order flow on an equity compared to an ETF. All right, let's hop on over to the loser side here. HGen down big. It's like a cheapie. I don't know if it's going to really squeeze up that much after the open. We'll call it out if it tries to. The ATRA trade is definitely something I personally have my eyes on this morning. So the ATRA trade, if you take a look, I'm going to just go back on the monthly chart for right now. That's all we got. The stock's breaking all-time lows, it seems, right? Believe my chart's back enough. So with that, I mean, hey, I think the regular session all-time low is off of 461. So it's below that already heading into the open. It wouldn't shock me if it squeezes back up at first and then for it to begin to pull back later on. So we'll see if that happens. The ATRA I definitely like here as a trade either way, as long if it ends up making that initial squeeze. But then once the volume and momentum dies off from that, it should tank, and it's going to be a pretty good short if you're able to get the shares. So ATRA looking pretty nice here. The U we already talked about. Not the U is in the University of Miami, the U, but U. The stock ended up making a nice drop this morning, but yeah, obviously we talked about this already. You'll probably have a thin order book upon the market opening up. That 35 level should be pretty interesting, though. Just as a $5 incremental level, that's something I would have my eyes on. If I catch it at the right time there. So, the U stock's already on our list. I had to toss that in there. The U. All right, what else we got here, folks? Let's see. Anything down that like 5% or more? Delta. So Delta ended up having earnings this morning. So between the down earnings, I think their CEO is on either Fox or MSNBC, whatever it is. One of our students, Mark, chatted me about that, kind of making up excuses for their poor service of late. The CEO at least. So with that, it ended up having a nice drop after 8 o'clock, right around that 8:30 time. Conveniently enough, I think that was right around the same time the CEO was on. So, heading into the open, I do like this as a short also. I'll put the Delta on our list. But on this trade, let me tell you, and I told this to Mark, so a little free game to all of us here. Just because this is down doesn't mean that it's going to be the greatest short. Doesn't mean it's going to be an easy short. So if the stock doesn't have easy to read levels, then that's a small issue, right? That's a bit of an issue. Check on Bookmap, and the order book is just very thin on this trade. So right now I do at least see an iceberg at 29, and you would expect that, about 10,000 shares on the bid currently. So, that's something to watch. But otherwise, if it breaks that, and if you missed a short from that point and it tanks, it's going to be a tough trade to try and anticipate aside from just focusing in on general 50-cent levels and whole numbers. So just keep that in mind at least. But Delta as a nice trend down, brand name stock to a degree, but right within our price range, good stock to try and follow heading into the open. All right. What else we got, folks? I think that might just be about it. Right now, current time 9:15, so I made pretty good do with time. I'll tell you, this pre-market has honestly sucked, and that was even before 8:30 when the CPI data came out. So there was clearly anticipation before that, a lot of hesitation, I should say. So not a whole lot happening before 8:30, but man, like even in that time, you would hope to see like a nice clean pop on XRTX or IS or PETZ. I think that APEN might be our biggest pre-market winner going into the open. Let me just check that out again before we finish up. Yeah, it's like a grinder of a trade too. So, not the best pre-market, but that happens. And keep in mind, like that's honestly a reason why, like trading the market open, being here throughout the day, trading the market close, if you're available, at least, that gives you a lot more of a window of opportunity to try and get your day's pay, right? Now we look to make that day's pay from 9:30 to 10:30, but if you're not able to do it then hey, like if you're able to stick around for another 30 minutes or an hour, or just come back at 3 o'clock, you have a lot of time. Pre-market is a smaller window of opportunity dependent upon your broker first, but also just otherwise, even if you're able to trade from like 7:30 or 7 o'clock, it's still going to be very thin out there. So not every stock moving is going to be an easy trade or great trade to try and anticipate. So you have to really find your niche in pre-market, and it's a smaller window of opportunity. So at least upon the market opening, hopefully there's a lot more opportunity to come. That's kind of where I'm leading to. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up for right now. I appreciate you dealing with my audio issues once again today. I thought I was good for a few days in a row there, but they came back. Hopefully, they should not continue any further. But either way, Fausto will be back come tomorrow morning. I know he's been itching to come back. He joined the live trading room yesterday morning. I don't know if he'll be there at the opening bell today. Let me just check to see if his name popped in here so far. He's there. All right, cool. So we got Fausto here for the market open inside the live trading room once again. Great. All right, so for all of us on Facebook Live and YouTube, I appreciate you folks sticking with me throughout this whole past week, and again, dealing with my little audio issues there throughout the morning. So any questions that you have, feel more than free to send over to my email address, josh@c2trading.com. I always like to post that at the end of these meetings. If you'd like to join our live trading room, feel more than free to do so by going right down to the link on the blue banner below to get yourself started. But for Grant, for Michael, for Mario, for Brian, for Norman, and for all of us live inside the trading room, I look forward to talking to you folks right at the opening bell. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9.